Have you ever felt like there's something more for your life? Something greater that's waiting just beyond your reach? Perhaps you've looked around, at the world, at your circumstances, and wondered, why am I here? What is my purpose? You know there's more to life than just going through the motions. Deep inside, you feel this stirring, a whisper calling you to something bigger. And yet, no matter how hard you try, the path seems unclear. What if I told you that God has a hidden plan for your life? What if I told you that the very struggles and challenges you face are part of a divine blueprint, a carefully crafted plan designed by God to lead you into your destiny? That's right, God has a purpose for you, and it's not just any purpose. It's a plan that will shape your future, your legacy, and the impact you make on this world. But here's the thing, we often look for God's plan in the wrong places. We think that if we just have the right connections, the right job, or the right status, then we'll find fulfillment. But the truth is, God's plan is far greater and deeper than anything this world can offer. It doesn't depend on the material things we chase after, or the success we try to build. It's something much more profound and life-changing. So why does it feel hidden? Why do we sometimes feel like we're stumbling around in the dark trying to find the light? The truth is, God's plan isn't always obvious. It's not always laid out for us in bright, flashing signs. It requires faith. It requires patience. And most importantly, it requires trust in God's timing. What if the hidden plan you've been longing for is already unfolding before you? What if it's not about figuring everything out right now, but trusting that God is working things behind the scenes, preparing you for something far greater than you can imagine? I want to invite you to take a moment right now. Forget about your doubts, your fears, and the pressures of life. Close your eyes and just take a deep breath. Can you hear it? The voice of God gently whispering, "Trust me." What would happen if you stepped into that moment? What would happen if you decided right now to let go of your own plans and step into His? Have you ever found yourself in a season of waiting, feeling like your life is on pause while everyone around you seems to be moving forward? It's a hard place to be, isn't it? The feeling of being stuck, of not knowing what's next, can be overwhelming. You see others chasing their dreams, achieving their goals, and you wonder, what's wrong with me? Why does it feel like I'm not moving anywhere? It's in these moments of silence, when we're waiting for something to happen, that we are most vulnerable to doubt. But here's the truth. Waiting is often part of God's plan for us. It's easy to mistake a season of waiting for a waste of time, but in reality, it is often in these quiet, seemingly uneventful moments that God is preparing us for the next chapter of our lives. When God asks us to wait, He's not saying no. He's saying, trust me. I am preparing something even better. You see, God's plan doesn't always fit into the timelines we've set for ourselves. It doesn't always follow the road we thought we'd be traveling. In fact, some of the most significant things that happen in our lives occur when we least expect them, when we're not actively pursuing them. Think about the moments in your life when you've truly encountered God, when He revealed something about Himself or about your future. Was it during a time of busyness and action? Or was it in a quieter, more reflective time? Perhaps even when you were waiting for something to happen. God has a way of using our waiting as a tool for transformation. It's in the waiting that He shapes our character, builds our endurance, and develops our faith. It's when we're waiting on God's timing, trusting that He knows best, that we begin to understand that His plans are far greater than anything we could ever imagine. God is not ignoring you. He is not withholding His plan from you. He is waiting for you to come to a place where you can fully receive it, where you can step into it with the confidence that only comes from trusting in His divine timing. During these times of waiting, there is an important question we must ask ourselves. How are we responding to the waiting? Are we becoming bitter and frustrated? Or are we allowing God to work in us and through us? Are we impatient, rushing ahead with our own plans? Or are we resting in the fact that God's timing is always perfect, even when it feels like we're stuck? Waiting is not wasted time. It's a time of preparation. Think about how God used the Israelites' journey through the wilderness to prepare them for the promised land. What may have seemed like an unnecessary detour was actually part of a greater plan. God was refining them, teaching them to trust Him, and shaping them into a people who are ready to inherit His promises. Your waiting season is not wasted. God is working in you right now. He is preparing you, refining you, and when the time is right, He will reveal the next step in His plan for you. Don't let the waiting fool you. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared for something far greater than you can see right now. And in the meantime, trust that God is orchestrating every detail, moving mountains and shifting circumstances to bring you exactly where you need to be. Have you ever had one of those moments when everything you thought you knew about your life suddenly changes? Maybe it's a job loss, a relationship that falls apart, or a dream that doesn't seem to be coming true. In those moments, it's easy to question everything: God's purpose for you, your future, your very worth. It feels like the ground beneath your feet has crumbled away and you're left standing in a sea of uncertainty, wondering what to do next. But here's what I want you to understand. That feeling of uncertainty isn't a sign that you've lost your way. It's often a sign that you're exactly where God needs you to be. Think back to the stories in the Bible where people faced moments of radical change. Abraham, for example, was called by God to leave everything familiar, everything secure, to step into an unknown future. He didn't have a map or a timeline. He only had God's promise that He would show him the way. And it was through that step of faith, through trusting God in the unknown, that God's plan for Abraham and for the entire world began to unfold. When your life is shaken up, when things don't go according to the plan you've worked so hard to create, remember this: God is not surprised by your circumstances. The trials you face, the detours you take, the challenges that come your way, they are part of the process. God isn't caught off guard by the unexpected. In fact, He often uses the most difficult and painful moments in our lives to align us with His hidden plan for us. He uses the valleys to prepare us for the mountaintops. But what about the fears that begin to creep in during those times? The doubts that start whispering, telling you that you've made a mistake, that you're on the wrong path. It's natural to feel fear when things are uncertain. But remember, fear is often a sign that God is about to do something incredible in your life. It's in the midst of uncertainty that we often experience the greatest breakthroughs. Think about how Moses had to trust God as he led the Israelites out of Egypt, walking toward the Red Sea with an army closing in behind them. It was a moment of complete surrender, and that's where God showed up in a powerful way, parting the sea and making a way where there was none. God's hidden plan for your life doesn't always unfold in ways that make sense. Sometimes He leads you down paths that seem confusing or even impossible. But the key is to trust that He is with you every step of the way, even when you can't see the whole picture. God's ways are higher than our ways, and His timing is perfect, even when we can't understand it. The important thing is that we keep moving forward in faith, trusting that He will reveal His purpose for us in due time. When we are in the midst of our own challenges, it's easy to forget the bigger picture. It's easy to get so focused on the storm that we lose sight of the God who holds the storm in His hands. But every season of difficulty, every moment of trial, is an opportunity to grow stronger in our faith. Just like a muscle that gets stronger when it's stretched and challenged, our faith grows deeper when it is tested. And God, in His love and wisdom, allows us to go through these moments because He knows they will shape us into the people we are destined to be. So when you find yourself in the middle of a difficult season, don't rush to find a way out. Instead, ask God what He wants to teach you in this moment. Ask Him what He's trying to show you. Every situation you face, no matter how difficult, can be used by God to bring about something beautiful. He's working in the unseen, and His plan for your life is unfolding, even when you can't yet see it. The pain you're experiencing today is not pointless. It's part of the process. It's part of the beautiful tapestry that God is weaving in your life. And when you look back on this season, you will see how every thread, every challenge, every moment of doubt was all part of His divine plan, shaping you, molding you, and leading you to a destiny far greater than you could have ever imagined. At this very moment, there may be a sense of unease stirring within you, a feeling that something is shifting, but you're not sure how to navigate it. You may feel like you're standing on the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to take the leap or stay safe where you are. The decision seems overwhelming, and the fear of making the wrong choice looms large in your mind. But I want to encourage you today. God is not calling you to make these decisions alone. He is with you, guiding you every step of the way. He is inviting you to trust Him in ways you never have before. In our human nature, we often seek control. We want to know exactly how everything will turn out, when it will happen, and what we need to do to get there. But God's plan rarely unfolds in neat, predictable steps. Sometimes He calls us into the unknown, into places that feel uncertain and even uncomfortable. He does this to stretch our faith, to build trust in Him, and to remind us that He is sovereign over every aspect of our lives. If you want to step into the destiny God has for you, you must first let go of the need to control every outcome. This might be a tough truth to swallow, especially when everything inside of you craves certainty. But trust me, there is freedom in surrender. When we surrender our plans to God, we open the door for Him to do what only He can do. Think about the story of Joseph in the Bible. He was sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused of a crime and thrown into prison. In the midst of all that darkness, Joseph had no idea how his story would unfold. But he trusted God, and in time, God elevated him to a position of power where he was able to save an entire nation from famine. Joseph's story reminds us that God's plan often involves moments that don't make sense to us at the time. What may feel like a setback is often a setup for something greater. When we place our trust in God's wisdom, we allow Him to take us to places we never could have reached on our own. The key is to keep our hearts open to His guidance, even when the road ahead seems uncertain. God's timing is always perfect, even when we can't see it. I know it's not easy. The unknown can be terrifying. But in those moments, God is inviting you to a deeper level of faith. He's calling you to trust that His plan is better than anything you could have imagined. He's asking you to let go of the need to control every aspect of your life and to trust Him with the details. This doesn't mean you sit back and do nothing. It means that you take action, but you do it with an open heart, willing to let God lead you wherever He sees fit. It means trusting Him with your decisions, your relationships, your career, and every other area of your life. When you start to step into God's plan, you'll notice that the path begins to open up before you, even when you don't have all the answers. That's the beauty of walking with God. The answers might not come right away, but if you keep moving forward in faith, He will reveal them to you in His perfect time. This is why it's so important to stay connected to Him through prayer, reading His Word, and seeking His will daily. God speaks to those who are willing to listen and obey. It's easy to look at someone else's life and think that their path is smoother, that they have it all together, that they know exactly what they're doing. But remember, everyone has their own journey, and God's plan for you is unique to you. The path He has designed for you may look different than you expected, but it will always lead to the place He has prepared for you. If you feel lost or uncertain, know this: you're not alone. God is walking with you every step of the way, and His plan for you is not only good, it's better than anything you could ever imagine. Step out in faith, trust His guidance, and know that you are on the path to a destiny that is far greater than you could have ever dreamed. Have you ever found yourself at a crossroads, feeling like you have no idea what comes next? You know deep down that something is about to change, but the direction is unclear, and the uncertainty feels overwhelming. It's in moments like these that God is often working behind the scenes, preparing you for something far greater than you could imagine. He is using this time of waiting, this season of uncertainty, to mold you, refine you, and prepare you for the destiny He has planned for you. While it may not seem like it now, God's hand is always at work, shaping you for what's to come. The process of stepping into your destiny often feels like a season of testing. It's during these times that you may question everything, your choices, your path, even your faith. But remember, God's hidden plan is not always revealed in an instant. Sometimes He calls us to wait, to persevere, and to trust in His process. And while we may not fully understand why certain things are happening or why the road is so difficult, God sees the bigger picture. God sees the bigger picture. He knows exactly what you need to grow, and He is working in you even when you don't feel Him near. Take a moment to think about the story of Moses. He spent 40 years in the desert before God called him to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. For 4 decades, Moses may have wondered if he was forgotten, if his life had lost its meaning. But in reality, those 40 years in the wilderness were not wasted. God was preparing Moses for the monumental task ahead. Moses learned humility, patience, and dependence on God during his time in the desert. It was only after he had gone through that process that he was ready to step into the destiny that God had for him. The trials he faced weren't just obstacles, they were stepping stones to his calling. In your life, you may be going through a similar season of waiting and testing. You might feel as though nothing is happening, as though all your efforts are in vain. But God is always working behind the scenes. You may not see it now, but the struggles you face today are preparing you for something greater. God is refining your character, strengthening your faith, and developing perseverance in you. The struggles you're facing are not a sign that God has forgotten you. They are an essential part of His plan for your life. During times like these, it's easy to get discouraged. You might feel like you're stuck, as if you've been waiting forever and nothing has changed. But I want to encourage you today. God's timing is perfect, and He will bring you into your destiny when the time is right. You are not alone in this journey. Even when it feels like you're in the wilderness, God is there with you, leading you, guiding you, and shaping you. The wilderness is not a place of punishment. It's a place of preparation. The key to embracing this process is learning to trust God, even when you don't understand the circumstances. It's in the waiting that your faith is tested, and it's in the waiting that your character is refined. God doesn't waste any part of your journey. Every hardship, every challenge, every trial has a purpose, and He is using it all to prepare you for the plans He has in store for you. If you can learn to embrace the waiting, to trust God's timing, you'll see that the process is not just about where you're going, it's about who you're becoming along the way. When you look back on this season of your life, you'll realize that it was during these moments of uncertainty and waiting that God did His most powerful work in you. The struggles and challenges you face today are shaping you into the person you need to be for the next season of your life. God has a purpose for everything you go through, and His plan for your life is unfolding step by step, even when you can't see the full picture. Trust that He is working in you right now to prepare you for the destiny He has designed for you. So don't be discouraged by the waiting. Don't let the uncertainty of the moment steal your peace. God's hidden plan is still at work in your life, and He is preparing you for something beyond what you can imagine. Keep your eyes fixed on Him, trust in His timing, and know that He is with you every step of the way. The best is yet to come. There is something incredibly powerful about the idea that God's plan for our lives is much bigger than we can ever comprehend. It's easy to get caught up in the daily struggles, in the noise of the world around us, and forget that we were created for something greater. But if you take a moment to reflect on your journey, you'll realize that God has been guiding you every step of the way, even when you couldn't see His hand. Your life is not a random collection of events. It's a story being written by the Creator of the universe. We often think we can control the course of our lives. We make plans, set goals, and think we know what's best for us. But the reality is that our plans are often limited by our perspective. We only see a small fraction of the whole picture. God, on the other hand, sees everything. He sees where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. He knows exactly what we need to become the person He's designed us to be. Trusting God with your destiny means surrendering your own limited understanding and allowing Him to lead you on a path that you may not have imagined for yourself. When we step into God's plan for our lives, we often encounter a shift in our perspective. We begin to see our struggles not as obstacles, but as opportunities to grow. God doesn't waste pain or hardship. Every challenge you face is an invitation to trust Him more deeply and to rely on His strength. Your weaknesses are the places where God's power is most evident. If you can trust Him in the hard times, you'll discover that He's not just refining you for the future. He's doing something profound in your life right now. It's in these moments of challenge that we are forced to confront our deepest fears and doubts. Will we trust God when things aren't going the way we planned? Will we have the courage to believe that He is still good even when our circumstances suggest otherwise? God's hidden plan often involves testing our faith. He wants us to depend on Him, not just when things are easy, but when we feel lost and uncertain. The Bible tells us that God works all things together for the good of those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. Romans 8:28. Even in our most difficult moments, He is working for our good. There is a lesson in every trial. In the midst of hardship, God is teaching us something valuable, whether it's patience, perseverance, or the ability to trust in His timing. Each test is a stepping stone toward your destiny. And with each one, you become more equipped to handle the next challenge. You're not just moving through life. You're growing, you're becoming, you're being molded into the person God needs you to be, for the purpose He's called you to. One of the most beautiful things about stepping into God's plan is that it doesn't require perfection. You don't have to have it all figured out, and you don't need to have all the answers. In fact, God delights in using imperfect people. He doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the call. It's through your imperfections, your imperfections, your flaws, and your mistakes that God's glory shines the brightest. When you step out in faith, even when you feel unworthy or unprepared, you're showing the world that it's not about your ability, but about God's power working through you. Think about the story of David. He was a young shepherd boy overlooked by many, and yet God chose him to be the king of Israel. David's journey wasn't easy. He faced battles, rejection, and failure, yet through it all, he learned to rely on God. It was in the wilderness, in the places where others saw him as insignificant, that God prepared him for greatness. God's plan for David's life was far beyond what anyone could have imagined. And just like David, God has a plan for your life that goes beyond your current circumstances. Stepping into God's destiny for your life means surrendering your own plans and allowing His to take center stage. It means trusting Him in the good times and the bad, believing that He is always working behind the scenes, even when you can't see the evidence. It means understanding that you are not alone in this journey. God is with you every step of the way, guiding you, shaping you, and leading you to something far greater than you could ever achieve on your own. So how do you step into your destiny? First, recognize that it is not a destination. It's a journey. You don't need to have it all figured out right now. Instead, focus on taking one step at a time, trusting that God is guiding you with each decision you make. Seek His will in everything you do and be willing to follow where He leads. Allow yourself to be molded, refined, and prepared for the incredible purpose He has for your life. Remember, God's plan for your life is far greater than you can imagine. The path may not always be easy, but it's always worth it. Trust Him, lean into His guidance, and watch as He leads you toward your destiny. There are moments in life when we feel completely lost, unsure of where we're headed, or if we're even on the right path. We've all been there, those moments of confusion, self-doubt, and uncertainty. You've asked yourself, am I doing the right thing? Is this really the path I'm meant to walk? Is this God's plan for my life? The truth is, God's plan for your life is often more hidden than we would like. It's easy to think that you should have all the answers right now. But the reality is that walking in God's plan often requires patience, trust, and a willingness to wait on His timing. God's plan unfolds in stages, not all at once, and this is where faith truly comes into play. It's in the waiting, the moments where you don't have all the answers, that your faith is tested and strengthened. You see, we live in a world where everything is fast-paced. We're used to instant gratification, quick results, and immediate answers. But God operates differently. His timing is perfect, even when we don't understand it. We often have to learn to trust Him in the waiting, believing that He is working behind the scenes, even when we can't see the progress. One of the most challenging aspects of stepping into God's plan is learning to surrender control. We like to be in charge, to know exactly what's going to happen next, but that's not how God works. He asks us to trust Him even when the path ahead looks unclear. It's about allowing Him to take the lead, and this requires a deep level of humility. We have to let go of our own expectations and desires, choosing instead to follow God's will for our lives, even when it leads us down unexpected paths. It's not always easy, but it's in those moments of surrender that we experience the fullness of God's peace. Think of the story of Abraham. When God called Abraham to leave his home and his family and go to a land he didn't know, Abraham didn't have all the answers. He didn't know where he was going or what would happen along the way. But what Abraham did know was that God had called him, and he trusted that God would guide him step by step. Abraham stepped out in faith, not knowing the full picture, but trusting that God's plan for him was greater than anything he could imagine. In the same way, God is calling you to trust Him, to step out in faith and to follow Him even when you can't see the end result. As you walk through life, remember that God's plan for you is not always a straight line. There will be twists and turns, moments of uncertainty, and times when it feels like you're going around in circles. But through it all, God is working. Even in the messiness and confusion, He is shaping and refining you for His purpose. The detours you encounter along the way are not signs that you've taken a wrong turn. They are often part of the process that leads you to the destiny God has planned for you. It's important to realize that your life is not just a random sequence of events. Every experience, every success, every failure, and every lesson is part of God's plan to mold you into the person He's created you to be. There is a purpose behind every moment, even the painful one. God never wastes a hurt. He uses the struggles you face to shape your character, teach you lessons of patience, perseverance, and trust. What may seem like a setback is often a setup for something greater. But how do you keep going when things are tough? How do you continue to trust God when it feels like nothing is happening? The key is to remember that God is always present even when you don't see Him working. He is with you in every moment, guiding you, leading you, and protecting you. Trust that He is working behind the scenes, even when you can't see the immediate results. Your job is to stay faithful, to keep taking steps of obedience, and to trust that God will reveal His plan to you in due time. Stepping into your destiny requires an unwavering trust in God's timing. It's about knowing that He will never lead you down a path that will harm you. God's plans for you are always good, even when you can't see the full picture. The Bible reminds us that God's thoughts are not our thoughts, and His ways are not our ways. Isaiah 55:8-9. His plan is always greater than our own. There will be moments when you doubt, when you feel discouraged, and when you wonder if it's worth it. But in those moments, remember that God has a purpose for your life, and He is working all things together for your good. You are not walking this journey alone. God is with you every step of the way, leading you, guiding you, and preparing you for what He has in store. You may not have all the answers right now, but that's okay. Step by step, day by day, God is unfolding His plan for you. Trust Him even when the path is unclear. When you surrender your will to His, when you choose to follow Him faithfully, you will step into the incredible destiny He has prepared for you. Remember, God's hidden plan is always better than anything you could have planned for yourself. As you continue walking in faith and trusting God's process, you'll begin to realize that God's hidden plan for your life isn't always about what you can see today. It's about who you're becoming through the journey. You see, God cares deeply about your character. His ultimate purpose is not simply to get you from point A to point B, but to shape you into the person you were meant to be. The trials, the tests, the struggles, they are all part of His refining process. They help purify your heart and mind, molding you into someone who reflects His love, His grace, and His power. Many people spend their lives chasing after success, wealth, and recognition, but God's plan isn't about worldly achievements. Instead, He's more concerned with your inner transformation. God's ultimate goal is for you to grow closer to Him, to depend on Him more, and to live out His love in a way that impacts the world around you. It's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of things that seem important on the surface. Career, relationship, status. But God's plan for you is far greater than anything the world can offer. The riches of His kingdom far exceed anything material, and His plans for you will bring you more peace and joy than you could ever imagine. One of the most significant revelations in stepping into God's hidden plan for your life is understanding that the world's version of success is not the same as God's definition of success. In fact, many times God will lead you down paths that look completely different from what society tells you to pursue. You might not become a famous celebrity or a millionaire, but you could become a person who impacts eternity. Your true success is measured by how faithful you are to God, how much you reflect His character, and how deeply you influence the lives of others for His glory. But to embrace this deeper perspective of success, you must learn to see your life through God's eyes. This means shifting your focus away from external achievements and focusing on internal growth. God isn't measuring your worth based on how many followers you have or the titles you hold. He's looking at your heart, your faithfulness, and your obedience. It's about being faithful with the small things, trusting God with every step, and being willing to serve Him even when no one else is watching. The more you trust God's hidden plan for your life, the more you'll realize that success in God's eyes is about your alignment with His will. Wow. And sometimes His will doesn't align with the world's idea of success. This means you might experience rejection, struggle, and hardship. But even in those moments, you can trust that God is working all things together for your good. Even in the darkest times, He is forming your character, preparing you for the destiny He has planned for you. But how do you stay focused on this higher calling when the world around you keeps shouting a different message? How do you keep pursuing God's plan when it feels like the road is long and the reward seems so distant? It starts by keeping your eyes fixed on Jesus. When you keep your gaze on Him, you will find the strength to persevere. Remember the words of Hebrews 12:2, which says, "Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith." Jesus is the ultimate example of what it means to trust God's plan, even when it involves suffering and sacrifice. He showed us that obedience to God's will, even when it's difficult, always leads to something far greater than we could ever imagine. There's a deeper purpose behind the moments that seem mundane, the days that feel like they don't matter, and the times you feel invisible or unnoticed. God is working through all of it. When you're faithful to Him in the small things, when you choose obedience, even when it costs you something, you are stepping into His purpose for your life. You are being prepared for something far bigger than you could ever envision. As you step into your destiny, it's important to remember that it's not just about the destination. It's about the journey. God is working in every moment, and each step you take is part of the bigger picture. The challenges you face today are not obstacles to your destiny. They are opportunities for growth. Every trial, every lesson learned, every person you encounter is part of God's master plan to shape you into the person you're meant to be. You are not simply moving from one task to the next. You are being refined and perfected by God's hands every day. And this is where the true peace and joy come from. When you embrace God's hidden plan, when you trust Him with your future and your present, you find a peace that transcends understanding. You begin to see that the struggles you face are not in vain. They are shaping you, building you up, and preparing you for the incredible future God has for you. His purpose for you is greater than anything you could have imagined. And stepping into it requires trust, faith, and a willingness to surrender your will to His. So if you're feeling discouraged or uncertain today, take heart. God is working in your life, even when you can't see the results. He is guiding you step by step, preparing you for something greater than you could ever dream. Trust Him, lean into His plan, and embrace the journey. God's hidden plan for your life is unfolding right before your eyes, and you are right where you're supposed to be. As you step into the destiny that God has for you, it's important to understand that the journey may not always be easy. There will be times when doubt creeps in, when the road ahead feels unclear, and when you question whether you're on the right path. But in those moments, remember this: God's plan for your life is not contingent on your ability to see the whole picture right now. In fact, many times God's greatest work happens in the unseen. Just because you can't see what's ahead doesn't mean God isn't working. He is always at work, even in the quiet, unseen moments. This is why faith plays such a crucial role in stepping into your destiny. To truly step into what God has for you, you must trust that He is leading you every step of the way, even when you can't see the road ahead. The Bible tells us in Hebrews 11:1 that a faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. In the journey of discovering God's hidden plan for your life, it's not about knowing every detail ahead of time. It's about trusting in the one who does. You might not understand the why behind certain circumstances, why you're facing hardships, why certain doors seem to remain closed, or why things aren't happening on your timeline. But understand that God is not bound by time, and He works all things for your good. Romans 8:28. There's a reason for every delay, every closed door, and every detour. God's purpose is greater than you could ever imagine, and the way He works in your life is often much different than the way we would plan it. But when we surrender to Him and trust His process, He leads us to exactly where we need to be. He uses the challenges we face to refine us, build our character, and shape us into who He created us to be. One of the keys to embracing God's hidden plan for your life is to recognize that it often requires stepping out of your comfort zone. The destiny God has for you may require you to take risks, to step into unfamiliar territory, and to trust that He will provide the way forward. The truth is, growth happens when we're stretched beyond what we think we're capable of. It's in the moments of discomfort, uncertainty, and challenge that God does His most profound work in us. When you feel uncomfortable or uneasy, remember that God is preparing you for something bigger. He is using those moments to help you grow, learn, and become the person you need to be in order to fulfill His plan for your life. Stepping out of your comfort zone doesn't mean jumping into something without a clear direction or purpose. Instead, it means trusting that God is leading you, even when you can't see the path clearly. It means stepping forward in faith, knowing that God is with you every step of the way. You may not have all the answers or understand why certain things are happening, but God calls us to follow Him, not knowing where He will lead us, but trusting that He will guide us. The journey of stepping into your destiny requires both faith and obedience. It's a process of learning to trust God more deeply and allow Him to lead you, even when the way forward seems uncertain. Another essential aspect of stepping into your God-given destiny is learning to listen to His voice and discern His will for your life. God speaks to us in various ways, through His Word, through prayer, through other people, and through the Holy Spirit guiding our hearts. As you move forward, take time each day to connect with God. Quiet your heart and listen for His still, small voice. God is not always loud or dramatic in His communication with us. His guidance often comes in gentle whispers, nudges, and impressions that we need to be intentional in recognizing. When you cultivate a habit of listening to God, you will begin to discern His voice more clearly, and He will guide you with wisdom and understanding. As you follow God's leading, know that His plan for you is full of purpose. The challenges, the waiting, and the struggles you may face are not without meaning. Every moment is being used by God to fulfill His greater plan for your life. Nothing is wasted in His hands. Even when life feels hard or the path feels unclear, you can rest in the knowledge that God is working all things together for your good. But God's plan for your life isn't just about you. It's also about how He wants to use you to impact the lives of others. Stepping into your destiny means becoming a vessel for His love, grace, and truth. Your life has the power to influence and inspire others, to lead them closer to God, and to show them what it looks like to follow Christ with boldness and faith. God's purpose for you isn't just about personal fulfillment. It's about being a blessing to the world around you. When you step into your destiny, you become a beacon of hope and light to those who need it most. So if you feel uncertain or unsure about the journey ahead, take heart. God is with you. He is leading you, preparing you, and guiding you every step of the way. Step out in faith, trust in His plan, and remember that He will provide for you as you follow His leading. His plan for your life is unfolding, and you are exactly where you need to be. Keep moving forward with trust and confidence, knowing that God's hidden plan is far greater than anything you could have imagined. As we come to the end of this journey, there's one final truth that you must grasp in order to fully embrace the destiny God has for you. Your purpose is already written. Even though life can often feel confusing, chaotic, or overwhelming, are you ready to trust Him enough to let go of your own timeline, your own expectations, and your own understanding of how things should unfold? It's when we let go of control that God can truly lead us into His perfect will. Yes. Many people go through life wondering if they're fulfilling their true calling, constantly second-guessing whether they are on the right path. But if you are a believer, you don't have to worry about your purpose. God has already crafted a path for you. The steps you take today, the decisions you make tomorrow, and the encounters you have along the way are all part of His divine plan. The only thing standing between you and your destiny is your willingness to follow where He leads. A key to stepping into your destiny is remembering that God doesn't always reveal the whole plan at once. He is the author of your story, and often He reveals the chapters one by one. When God is working in your life, He leads you step by step, building your faith as you go. That's why sometimes the journey feels uncertain. You may wonder why you can't see the bigger picture, why the end result is still hidden. But that is precisely how faith works. By trusting in what you can't see and believing that God is in control of the story unfolding before you. Trust that He will reveal the next step at the right time. One of the most powerful aspects of God's plan is that it's uniquely tailored to who you are. You were created for a specific purpose that no one else can fulfill. God doesn't just randomly assign destinies. He has intentionally designed you for the work He's calling you to do. The talents, the gifts, the experiences, and even the challenges you face have all been part of His divine shaping process. It's a part of His preparation to use you in ways you may not even fully understand yet. So when doubt creeps in or when you feel inadequate, remember, God has perfectly equipped you for the path ahead. You are exactly who He needs for His purpose to be fulfilled in this world. But there's another crucial truth. Walking in your destiny requires commitment and perseverance. It's not always an easy road, and there will be times when you face setbacks or struggles that make you question whether you're on the right track. But remember, God's strength is made perfect in your weakness. In the times when you feel like giving up or when obstacles seem insurmountable, those are the moments God is calling you to lean on His strength. It's in those moments that He does some of His most powerful work in your life. He strengthens you, refines you, and teaches you to rely on Him. So don't be discouraged when the journey gets tough. God is right there with you, refining you for the next step in your purpose. Another element of stepping into your destiny is understanding that God's plan for your life is not just about you. It's about His kingdom and the impact you will have on others. The work God is doing in your life is meant to touch the lives of those around you. When you walk in your calling, you become a light to others. Your story, your faith, and your obedience to God can serve as an inspiration to people who are struggling, searching, or lost. God doesn't just bless you for your own sake. He blesses you so that you can bless others. Your destiny is tied to the greater picture of God's kingdom, and the ripple effects of your faithfulness will reach far beyond what you can imagine. And as you step into this destiny, don't forget that God is with you every single step of the way. He has promised never to leave you or forsake you. Deuteronomy 31:6. You are not walking alone. No matter what challenges arise, no matter how uncertain the future may seem, God's presence will guide and sustain you. It's easy to forget this truth when life gets hard, but it's in those moments of struggle that we need to remind ourselves of His faithfulness. God is the ultimate source of your strength, courage, and wisdom. Lean on Him, trust in Him, and know that He is the one who is guiding you through every season. Lastly, remember that your destiny is not about reaching a destination. It's about the journey of becoming who God has called you to be. The process of walking in your purpose is just as important as the destination itself. God is working in you, molding you, and refining you every single day. So, embrace each season of your life, whether it's one of waiting, growing, or stepping out in faith. Each chapter is preparing you for what's to come. The more you trust in God's timing, the more you will see how everything in your life is connected, how He's been working behind the scenes all along to lead you to where He wants you to be. As you continue your journey, hold fast to the truth that God's plan for your life is bigger than anything you could ever imagine. The best is yet to come, and even though the path may not always be easy, it is a path that leads to something far greater than you could ever create on your own. So step forward with confidence, knowing that God is guiding you toward a destiny that is filled with hope, purpose, and endless possibilities. Trust His plan, embrace His purpose, and allow Him to use your life in ways that will bring glory to His name. Your destiny awaits, and you are perfectly positioned to walk in it.